There is a family living within a few miles of you right now. They have been wealthy for longer than your country has had its current government. Their fortune has survived wars, revolutions, and the complete collapse of entire financial systems. And you have never, not once, heard their name. Ask yourself why, in a world where new money announces itself at every available opportunity, displayed in driveways, performed on social media, measured in square footage, the families with the most have found a way to be completely, deliberately, and systematically invisible. Not because they are modest, because they are protected. And the protection is called the Code of Silence. This code was not invented in a single meeting. It was not written down in any document you will ever find. It was discovered through catastrophe, through loss, through watching other families destroyed by the simple act of being too visible. Today, Vaultwire decodes it completely. Every component, every mechanism, every reason it has protected certain families across centuries, while others built and lost everything within a single generation. The code did not begin with wealth. It began with the destruction of wealth. The great European banking dynasties of the 17th century learned something through direct and painful experience. Visibility is the first step toward loss. The moment a family's wealth became publicly known, governments invented reasons to tax it. Competitors invented reasons to undermine it. Revolutionary movements invented reasons to seize it. The families that survived didn't survive because they were stronger. They survived because they became impossible to target. Invisible. Not poor. Not diminished. Not retreating. Simply and completely invisible. And the instrument of that invisibility, then as now, was silence. The first principle of the code is introduced before a child understands the concept of money. We do not discuss what we have. We do not discuss what this family owns, what it is worth, or what it earns. Not with friends, not at school, not with anyone who does not sit at this table. Simple, absolute, non-negotiable. This is not taught through lectures. It is absorbed through correction and consequence. A child who mentions the family home to a schoolmate is quietly corrected before dinner. A teenager who discusses money with a friend learns precisely what discretion costs when that friendship becomes complicated. The lesson does not need to be repeated twice. Old money does not network. It selects. The second component of the code is selective presence. These families appear in a public life only enough to maintain the relationships their position requires. Nothing more. Every public appearance is a calculated decision, not a social impulse. They are never simply somewhere. They are always somewhere for a reason. New money craves coverage. Old money treats a press. Mention the way most people treat an audit, something to be avoided at almost any cost. Because old money understands what new money has not yet learned. Every article is an invitation for scrutiny. Every photograph is a data point for someone calculating what you have. Every interview is a potential liability. The camera that flatters you today is the evidence that complicates you tomorrow. The third component is appropriate conversation. And this is where the code becomes genuinely invisible to those who do not know it exists. There are subjects. Old money discusses freely. History, architecture, ideas, institutions, the quality of a particular wine vintage. And there are subjects that simply do not enter the conversation. Financial figures, asset values, net worth, specific business details. The line between these two categories is never stated. It is felt. And anyone in the room who doesn't feel it immediately reveals themselves as someone who does not belong there. When old money wishes to communicate financial capability, it doesn't speak, it arranges. The address communicates without mentioning value. The art communicates without mentioning price. The school communicates without referencing tuition. The tailor communicates without displaying a logo. Every detail is calibrated to speak clearly to those who understand and to say absolutely nothing to those who do not. This is not performance. This is precision. The fourth component is what I call deliberate ordinariness. And it is perhaps the most sophisticated behavior in the entire code. In mixed environments, professional settings, civic gatherings, anywhere that includes people from outside the private world, old money dresses down with extraordinary care. The watch is valuable, but requires education to identify. The car is a previous model. The demeanor is engaged, but never elevated. They move through the public world, the way a submarine moves through open water. Present, aware, and completely undetectable. The fifth component is the one that makes all the others permanent. Legal architecture. Trust structures with embedded confidentiality provisions. Family constitutions with explicit privacy requirements. Non-disclosure clauses written directly into inheritance conditions. The silence is not simply cultural preference. It is contractual obligation. The code enforces itself, not through family pressure alone, but through documents signed before lawyers in private rooms that will never be discussed in public. Now you understand what the code is. Now understand what happens when it breaks. History is specific. When old money families have broken the code through vanity, through naivety, or through one generation that simply forgot what the silence was protecting, the consequences follow a pattern so consistent it reads like a formula. Scrutiny arrives first, then litigation, then regulatory attention, then the slow, irreversible dismantling of everything that took generations to build, conducted in full public view by people who have no understanding of what they are taking apart. The families whose names commanded rooms for 200 years and now exist only in history books are almost never families that made bad investments. They are families where someone forgot why the silence existed. The code of silence is not shame. It is not guilt. It is not the behavior of people with something criminal to hide. It is the accumulated wisdom of families who learned, through centuries of direct experience, that the world's relationship with extreme wealth is adversarial enough that silence is simply the most intelligent response available. The next time You're in a room with someone who offers nothing. No figures, no valuations, no discussion of what they own or what they earn. Do not mistake that silence for modesty. You are almost certainly looking at mastery. Subscribe to Vaultwire, because the next video goes inside the private banking system that old money uses to make their wealth completely invisible, even to the institutions designed specifically to find it. The vault is always open,